The Forest by Ben Jonson. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Sheldon Greaves. Number 1. Why I Write Not of Love. Some act of love's bound to rehearse, I thought to bind him in my verse, which, when he felt, away, quoth he, can poets hope to fetter me? It is enough they once did get Mars and my mother in their net. I wear not these wings in vain, which with he fled me, and again into my rhymes could ne'er be got by any art. Then wonder not that since my numbers are so cold, when love is fled, and I grow cold. Number 2. To Penshurst. Thou art not, Penshurst, built to envious show of touch or marble, nor canst boast a row of polished pillars or a roof of gold. Thou hast no lantern whereof tales are told, or stair or quartz, but stand'st an ancient pile, and these, grudged at, art reverenced the while. Thou joy'st in better marks of soil, of air, of wood, of water. Therein thou art fair. Thou hast thy walks for health as well as sport, thy mount, to which thy dryads do resort, where Pan and Bacchus their high feasts have made, beneath the broad beech and the chestnut shade. That taller tree which of a nut was set at his great birth, where all the Muses met. There in the writhed bark are cut the names of many a sylvan taken with his flames. And thence the ruddy satyrs oft provoke the lighter fawns to reach thy lady's oak. Thy copse, too, named of gamage thou hast there, that never fails to serve thee seasoned deer, when thou wouldst feast or exercise thy friends. The lower land that to the river bends, thy sheep, thy bullocks, kine, and calves do feed. The middle ground thy mares and horses breed. Each bank doth yield thee conies, and the tops fertile of wood. Ashore and Sydney's copse, to crown thy open table, doth provide the purpled pheasant with the speckled side. The painted partridge lies in every field, and for thy mess is willing to be killed. And if the high-swoln Medway fail thy dish, thou hast thy ponds that pay thee tribute fish. Fat, aged carp that run into thy net, and pikes now weary of their own kind to eat. As loath the second draught or cast to stay, officiously at first themselves betray. Bright eels that emulate them, and leap on land before the fisher, or into his hand, then hath thy orchard fruit, thy garden flowers, fresh as the air, and new as are the hours. The early cherry with the later plum, fig, grape, and quince, each in his time doth come. The blushing apricot and woolly peach hang on thy wall, and that every child may reach. And though thy walls be of the country stone, they're reared with no man's ruin, no man's groan. There's none that dwell about them wish them down, but all come in, the farmer and the clown, and no one empty-handed to salute thy lord and lady, though they have no suit. Some bring a capon, some a rural cake, some nuts, some apples, some that think they make the better cheeses bring them, or else send by their ripe daughters, whom they would commend this way to husbands, and whose baskets bear an emblem of themselves in plum or pear. But what can this, more than express their love, add to thy free provisions far above the need of such, whose liberal board doth flow with all that hospitality doth know, where comes no guest but is allowed to eat without his fear and of thy lord's own meat, where the same beer and bread and self-same wine that is his lordship's shall be also mine. And I not fain to sit, as some this day, at great men's tables, and yet dine away. Here no man tells my cups, nor standing by a waiter doth my gluttony envy, but gives me what I call, and lets me eat. He knows, below, he shall find plenty of meat. Thy tables hoard not up for the next day, nor when I take my lodging need I pray for fire or lights or livery. All is there, as if thou then wert mine or I reigned here. There's nothing I can wish for which I stay. That found King James when hunting late this way with his brave son the Prince. They saw thy fires shine bright on every hearth, as the desires of thy penates had been set on flame, to entertain them, or the country came with all their zeal to warm their welcome here. What great, I will not say, but sudden cheer didst thou then make 'em, and what praise was heaped on thy good lady then, who therein reaped the just reward of her high huswifery, to have her linen, plate, and all things nigh, when she was far, and not a room, but dressed as if it had expected such a guest. These, Penshurst, are thy praise, and yet not all. Thy lady's noble, fruitful, chaste withal. His children thy great lord may call his own, a fortune in this age, but rarely known. They are, and have been taught religion, thence their gentler spirits have sucked innocence. Each morn and even they are taught to pray with the whole household, and may every day read in their virtuous parents' noble parts the mysteries of manners, arms, and arts. Now, Penshurst, they that will proportion thee with other edifices, when they see those proud ambitious heaps and nothing else, may say, their lords have built, but thy Lord dwells. Number 3. To Sir Robert Wroth. How blessed art thou, canst love the country Wroth, whether by choice or fate or both, and though so near the city and the court, art ta'en with neither vice nor sport, that at great times art no ambitious guest of sheriff's dinner or mayor's feast, nor com'st to view the better cloth of state, the richer hangings or crown plate, nor throng'st, when masking is, to have a sight of the short bravery of the knight, to view the jewels, stuffs, the pains, the wit, there wasted, some not paid for yet, but canst at home in thy securer breast live with unbought provision blest, free from proud porches or their gilded roofs, 'mongst lowing herds and solid hoofs, along the curled woods and painted meads, through which a serpent river leads to some cool courteous shade, which he calls his, and makes sleep softer than it is. Or if thou list the night in watch to break, abed canst hear the loud stag speak, in spring oft roused for thy master's sport, who for it makes thy house his court. Or with thy friends, the heart of all the year, divid'st upon the lesser deer, in autumn at the partridge mak'st a flight, and giv'st thy gladder guests the sight, and in the winter hunts the flying hare, more for thy exercise than fare, while all that follow their glad ears apply to the full greatness of the cry, or hawking at the river or the bush, or shooting at the greedy thrush. Thou dost with some delight the day outwear, although the coldest of the year. The whilst the several seasons thou hast seen, of flowery fields, of copses green, the mowed meadows with the fleeced sheep, and feasts that either shearers keep, the ripened ears yet humble in their height, and furrows laden with their weight, the apple harvest that doth longer last, the hogs returned home fat from mast, the trees cut out in log, and those boughs made a fire now that lent a shade. Thus Pan and Sylvan having had their rites, Comus puts in for new delights, and fills thy open hall with mirth and cheer, as if in Saturn's reign it were, Apollo's harp, and Hermes' lyre resound, nor are the Muses strangers found. The rout of rural folk come thronging in, their rudeness then is thought no sin. Thy noblest spouse affords them welcome grace, and the great heroes of her race sit mixed with loss of state or reverence, freedom doth with degree dispense. The jolly wassail walks the often round, and in their cups their cares are drowned. They think not then which side the cause shall leese, nor how to get the lawyer's fees. Such, and no other, was that age of old which boasts t'have had the head of gold. And such, since thou canst make thine own content, strive, Wroth, to live long innocent. Let others watch in guilty arms, and stand the fury of a rash command. Go enter breaches, meet the cannon's rage, that they may sleep with scars in age, and shew their feathers shot and colours torn, and brag that they were therefore born. Let this man sweat and wrangle at the bar, for every price, in every jar, and change possessions oftener with his breath than either money, war, or death. Let him then hardest sires more disinherit, and each were boast it as his merit, to blow up orphans, widows, and their states, and think his power doth equal fates. Let that go heap a mass of wretched wealth, purchased by rapine, worse than stealth, and brooding o'er it sit with broadest eyes, not doing good, scarce when he dies. Let thousands more go flatter vice, and win, by being organs to great sin, get place and honour, and be glad to keep the secrets that shall break their sleep. And so they ride in purple, eat in plate, though poison think it a great fate. But thou, my Wroth, if I can truth apply, shall neither that nor this envy. Thy peace is made, and when man's state is well, 'tis better if he there can dwell. God wisheth none should rack on a strange shelf, to him man's dearer than himself. And howsoever we may think things sweet, he always gives what he knows meet, which who can use is happy. Such be thou. Thy mornings and thy evenings vow, be thanks to him, an earnest prayer to find a body sound with sounder mind, to do thy country's service, thyself right, that neither want do thee affright, nor death, but when thy latest sand is spent, thou mayest think life a thing but lent. Number 4. To the World. A farewell for a gentlewoman, virtuous and noble. False world, good night. Since thou hast brought that hour upon any morn of age, henceforth I quit thee from my thought. My part is ended on thy stage. Do not once hope that thou canst tempt a spirit so resolved to tread upon thy throat, and live exempt from all the nets that thou canst spread. I know thy forms are studied arts, thy subtle ways be narrow straits, thy courtesy but sudden starts, and what thou call'st thy gifts are baits. I know too, though thou strut and paint, yet art thou both shrunk up and old, that only fools make thee a saint, and all thy good is to be sold. I know thou whole are but a shop of toys